Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Castello Show. It is episode 5. Episode 4, you may have noticed, never went up. We had some technical difficulties last weekend, which sucks because it was actually one of our best weeks fantasy-wise.
Yeah.
But that was not to hide secrets from you guys.
We put them out on Instagram.
That's true. They were out on Instagram, along with the bets. But we're here, new week, and this week's theme, it's opening day, ladies and gentlemen. Get excited. Baseball opening day.
I'm not that excited.
No. So I don't really... I only care about baseball to the extent of are the Mets doing well. If they're not, then I don't care.
And today's Thursday. We normally record Wednesdays. Today's Thursday, so it actually is opening day.
Yep.
We normally publish on Fridays. So today should have been opening day for the Mets.
Mm-hmm.
But that game got postponed. They were the first game out, actually, against the Brewers. That got postponed because of weather. But I still feel like they should have a losing record right now, even not playing. I'm pretty down on the Mets this year, and I think most Mets fans are, especially after the roller coaster last year.
Yeah.
A lot of people think they're going to do better than expected, but I just think that's because there's nothing expected at all.
Right. Well, and everything preseason I watched, like all the spring training games, were really not. There was nothing happening at all. Like,
well, Cohen, he's saying how great they're doing in spring training, and that doesn't matter. Like.
Yeah. Well, and it was also like they won. But that's not so great in spring training.
No, that's not the goal of spring training.
Win by 10 in spring training if you want.
Even that isn't the goal. The goal is to see the players, decide who's staying up, figure out your lineups and all that kind of stuff for the season. But if get back into baseball shape, if you're going to
say they're doing so well, if that's a thing on baseball, it's funny. I almost didn't hear that. But if you're going to say they're doing so well, and they're sneaking out 2-1 wins, that's not doing so well. I need you to be winning by 20 runs in spring training for me to actually.
They got the Phillies and the Braves in their division. I mean, it's going to be horrible.
Fun stuff.
What's funny is today's opening day, but actually last week there were regular season games played in Korea between the Dodgers and the Padres.
Well, Korea is ahead on time, right? Is it a week ahead? I don't know how far.
But the Dodgers and Padres are actually 1-1 each.
Right.
But today's opening day, and they played spring, preseason, spring training games when they came back from Korea. So they had regular season games that count towards their record, then came back and had more spring training games.
That's so weird.
And then went back to
Does Korea have a different season or something?
Well, these are American teams.
Right, but if they're going to go play the game, like, why not just wait till the season starts to play in Korea?
Yeah, that's a good
Was there a reason?
Yeah, no, I don't know. Probably because they didn't want them to come back with those long trips back. Boom, right into Major League Baseball games that matter.
That makes sense.
But you just give them a few days off.
Like when Miami goes to Hong Kong.
Yeah. And Messi doesn't play, and the Chinese government sues Inter Miami.
Also, last week's theme, it was the March Madness episode because we were getting into the tournament, so you guys didn't see that. But my Final Four is all still alive. Yours is too, right?
Yep. 7 of my Elite 8. St. Mary's is my only team that is out from the Elite 8. So that'll be either UNC or Alabama in that spot. But I had St. Mary's getting through to that point. My Final Four, because no one knows, UConn, Houston, Arizona, and Gonzaga. And they are all still alive, but they have some really tough matchups this week. Actually starting today, Thursday. So
nice. And let's see. I had Iowa State, Arizona, Marquette, and Creighton.
And your finals is who?
Marquette and Iowa State. Marquette winning it for 147 points.
And I have Arizona beating Houston in the finals. I have no idea what my points are.
Yeah,
I think it was 169 actually. To be honest,
I gotta be honest, I'm Big East heavy here. I also don't. I don't want to say I don't care because if Marquette wins and my bracket was semi-correct, I'll be pumped because I'm at 82.9% correct right now, and all my deep teams are still alive. So I could have a really good bracket,
Well, I'm in pool, so I do care because it means money.
Yeah, I don't. I'm just playing against ESPN, really.
Yeah.
I made the bracket, but I never got into anything this year.
I actually, you're talking about Big East, and I actually thought there was a chance that all three Big East teams would make the Final Four, but I just thought the chances of that, like, there was only three Big East teams that made it, which was ridiculous, by the way. And I had a whole dissertation that I'm not going to do again this week.
It was a good rant, though.
But for all three of them to make the Final Four, that would be really unusual. Someone's got to trip up. So then I tried to see where, but I have them all in my Elite Eight, and then I think I have Marquette and Creighton both losing in the Elite Eight. So I would have had UConn losing earlier and not in the Final Four, but their Sweet 16 and Elite Eight games are in Boston. So it's a home game. I really thought Iowa State would beat them, which you do have them beating them.
Yep.
I just don't like that it's in Boston. I mean, it's a home game, and I don't think that Iowa State still can't win even in Boston. If I put money on it, I'd rather go with the home team there. You know, especially if they're the favorite, even on a neutral site. So
for sure. Let's get into last week's games. A lot of big matches. To start off, the Red Bulls 4-0 win over Miami at home. Lewis Morgan was back from injury, which is big, but no Forsberg, and still a 4-0 win.
Yes.
Miami was pretty disappointing as well. Really not a lot of attack. Like they did, and it was a gross game. It was very rainy.
Yeah.
The environment was not good for pretty Miami soccer.
Did you see Suarez take the ball from the ref right before kickoff?
I did see him take the ball from the ref right before kickoff.
And his hands were in his shirt like this, and he's shivering.
It was not. Yeah. That was not what Miami was used to, and they got beat.
Well, it just shows you how not tough he is too.
Well, and I mean how not tough they are. They're a pretty team. Miami is cats. Red Bull are dogs. It was all like hustle, tough, knock people over, slide in the rain.
That ball that Morgan saved from going out.
Yeah.
Then beat the defender. I mean, it was all effort. And Miami they're not an effort team.
No. Also on the docket, Charlotte FC 2-0 over Columbus at home. Now it should be noted Columbus red card early. I want to say, what minute was that in? It was like the 20-something? 25th minute. By the way, it was Jones who was on Charlotte.
Derek Jones, former Charlotte FC player. And it was funny because we were there and we were like, wow, that looks like Derek Jones. And it's like, oh my God, that's Derek Jones. I didn't even know he went to Columbus.
Yeah, almost, removed Kerwin Vargas' foot from his leg with that tackle. So he was out. And then, just...
Longest game in the history of the MLS.
Longest game in the history of the MLS, and a wild one. 2 goals called back, 1 for each team. Tavares with, the farthest penalty miss.
The worst penalty I've ever seen.
It was almost like he did it on purpose. Like, if you were going to do a sketch where a guy misses a penalty.
Well, did you see how soft that penalty was?
Yeah.
That was on the other end of the field, so we didn't see it. And they never show replays in Bank of America Stadium for some reason. So you have no idea what's going on. So you saw him go down. It looked like a penalty, and they called it. But watching it at home on Apple, that should have been called.
No, they really
didn't.
And
so maybe that was...
You think he did it on purpose?
No. The soccer gods.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that shouldn't have been called, so it was destiny.
Also on the list, we've got LAFC 5-0 win over Nashville. Bawanga breaks the no-goal streak, which is big. First one was a penalty, then he comes back with a real one. The LAFC just looked unbelievable. They were so good, and Nashville had no answers for anything.
And we were both big on Bawanga last week. Just 4 games, no goals, former Golden Boot winner. At some point he has to score.
Yeah.
Now he's going home against what we believe is a bad team, or at least now missing some of those players.
Yeah.
Coming across the country. Yeah, we were heavy on Bawanga.
And should be noted with Nashville, another not good Hani Mukhtar game. He's...
Actually, if you look at his numbers fantasy-wise were pretty decent. He had a bunch of passes and key passes.
Oh, really? Did he hit it with that?
Yeah, I don't know what his score was. I didn't really pay that much attention. But looking in, recaps and things like that, he was very involved. But there's just nobody to put the ball in the net.
Right. No, I mean, they don't really have...
He only had
enough
4
strikers.
points.
Yeah, I mean, 4 points is not, like, the worst week ever, but that's
No,
not...
especially with no goals.
And how much does Hunter
77 minutes.
What's his price? Because he's up there, I thought. 7.8 million. Wow.
Mighty have fallen.
Really?
But he got the passes points. He had 6 key passes, which is another point too short of that. See, he had some shots, just not enough. Mm-hmm. He had 2 corners. He needed 1 more. So he was very close to getting like 6 or 7 points, actually, without any goals or assists. I mean, he was involved. They just don't finish anything, and it's just not a good team.
Yeah, for sure. Next up, we've got the Union 3-1 over the Portland Timbers. Union missing a lot of guys.
6
starters, but still had Ure and Carranza, who really just took the game over.
Yeah.
And it really makes me wonder. I mean, Gazdag coming back, definitely Gazdag is an important part of that team.
Oh, God, yeah.
But of those other 6, maybe they're
2
not...
were defenders and 1 was a keeper.
Right, but they didn't seem to really have any struggles back there. Like, maybe...
Well, they did let up a goal.
Yeah, I thought that game was going to be
on the road.
3-0 Portland, honestly. Especially
so did I.
Portland having...
I was heavy on Portland. I mean, Evander was my captain.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Evander, Anthony, and the new guy, Ramirez?
Rodriguez,
thank you.
Yeah, I actually didn't know if he was going to play or not, so I didn't plan on playing him, only because I didn't know if he was going to play or not. So.
Yeah, and he did have the goal. And then last, closing it out with one of the craziest game endings I've ever seen all time, Houston scoring in the last minute. Head injury right before the breakaway.
Face injury.
Yeah, what do you think about that? I mean, that was nuts.
That dude was bleeding pretty good. He had marks. I don't know how that was just one shot.
Yeah.
It was, if you look at his face. But one of the refs actually apologized after when they were shaking hands.
Really?
I guess because at that point, he had seen the guy's face, knew something really happened. But I thought it was a foul, first of all. Mm-hmm. So that should have stopped.
Yeah,
I mean, he elbowed him in the face.
High. And even if he didn't mean to hit him with the elbow, he's still up here with the elbow.
And then you go to head injury, regardless.
Right.
So that goal shouldn't have happened. That was really sad for Colorado, who should have held on to the clean sheet. But also, even without that guy, stop the counter, man. Like, where is everybody? It's the last seconds of the game. Stop the counter.
Right. And
but still feel bad they shouldn't have been in that situation.
For sure. So let's get into last week's fantasy. Now, you guys did see the lineups, but you didn't see us talk about them, so we'll go through. I had Celentano in the net, Amundsen, Brooks Lennon, and Kip Keller along the back line. Midfield, Evander, Acosta, Heel, and Ricky Puig. Then up top, Joveljic, Bouanga, and Campana. Campana, useless this week. I mean, they lost 5-0. What do you do?
Most of
Miami really missed. Carlos Heel, also useless against Chicago. I am
so disappointing.
I'm done with Carlos Heel.
So disappointing.
He's not going to be on my team. If literally the New England Revolution is playing ITAA U16, Carlos Heel is not on my fantasy team because he just can't be trusted.
But you want to know what's funny? They have 4 goals on the season in 5 games. Half of them are by Carlos Heel. But only one is by a forward, Vrioni. He's the only one that's got a goal at all for a forward. And then Nacho has the other one, which kind of should have been Carlos. It was saved and batted down. That was, I believe, in this game. That was the goal in this game.
Amundsen was my other disappointing player. 1 point. But honestly, they were playing against Charlotte, so I was very happy to have him only with 1 point. And Charlotte get the 2-0 win. That was worth it to me. Brooks Lennon, 5 points in a goalless game, which was sweet.
He's one of your few defenders that are still getting
Kip
points.
Keller had 7. And then Ricky Puig, I mean, that comeback and everything with them was unbelievable.
Like 10 minutes, those 3 goals.
Honestly, that's
so good.
If Houston didn't have that last minute goal, LA Galaxy's comeback would have been on the news this week because that was insane. But I'm less shocked by the Galaxy doing things like that.
Oh no,
they're just so good.
They're awesome.
I didn't think they should have been down 2-0 in the first place. You know. Evander, 7 points, good week. Acosta, 7 points, good week. Joveljic with 8. Belonga with 19, which is exactly what we needed out of Belonga this week.
Ship captain.
And I think we're going to get a lot more of this from him coming up. As far as, I had 85 points overall, 394 overall for my week rank, and then for my rankings now, I was in 7th for the Charlotte FC week rank.
Woo!
So my overall now, I'm in 18th in the Charlotte FC league, and I am 1,052 in the overall league, which, it's out of 15,000, so I'm not upset. I mean, that's still pretty good. But I am so far from that top 50 for Champions League still. Yeah. It's starting to make the Champions League seem stupid. Because when I was in 7,000th overall, it was like, well, top 50, who cares? Yeah. That's so far. But now I'm in 1,000th. Like, I should be getting near something, and I'm still not even close.
Yeah. No, it's very difficult to get into that.
Also won my head-to-head, which was big. So 5-0 in the Athletic Supporters Shield. I am in sole possession of first. And I am about to lose that this week because I am playing John. John, how'd you do last week? What happened over there?
So I had 93 points, which I was happy with. I had Gavron in goal. Love Toronto and love Cincy defensively.
Mm-hmm.
So I had 2 Cincy defenders, 2 Toronto defenders, and Gavron. So he got me the 8. So I kept him on the bench and threw 4 million. You know I'm always looking for a keeperoo.
Mm-hmm.
Rosted and Long from Toronto had 9 and 6 respectively. Miazga and Keller each had 7. Keller, I don't know if you saw this, but he had a goal disallowed, so he could have really had big points.
Really? I didn't notice that.
Yeah, he could have really had big points. But what's funny is, I mean, that is a perfect back line, defense. All clean sheets, and still not that many points. 8, 9, 7, 6, 7. The new points are atrocious. Like, just put all your money at your forwards. Every last dime, put it at your forwards.
No, it's not worth it unless Gressel scores a goal. They have to score a goal for it to be useful.
Yep, and you can't predict that from a defender. I mean,
no, it would be too
midfield. Evander, like I said, and he was my captain, which wasn't terrible. 7 to 14.
Crossover between our teams this week.
Yeah, because with the international call-ups, there was. I felt like some pretty obvious plays,
Yeah.
I thought about Belonga. I actually briefly thought about Heel. Thank God I didn't. But I thought about Belonga, and I stuck with Evander because I liked Portland so much in that matchup. So that kind of stunk. I had Acosta with his 7, which was always good. Puig with the 11, Heel with the 2, like you had said. I had Robert Taylor on the bench. Like every Miami player, he did nothing. He didn't even. He played 59 minutes.
Eek.
Yeah, 1 minute from getting me a point just for playing.
That sucks.
I had Belonga, I had Campagna, and then I had just a $4 million DNP. So Rosted came off the bench. So it was 93 overall. It was actually the top for the Charlotte League for the week.
Wow.
Yeah.
A week win. Let's go.
But the Charlotte League only has...
The team should send you something for that.
Yeah, they don't even know this exists.
No, they don't. And it's bullshit.
It's actually directly from Tepper. He actually looks at this every week.
He mails you a package. But honestly, if you ran an MLS team, wouldn't you want to encourage this?
Yes, and engage your fans and all of that.
And especially, it already sorts it by fans of your team. You only have to interact directly with your fans. But
there's only 436 Charlotte, so that's not very...
So they can afford to get us all nice.
Well, that's true, but it's not very impressive. Just coming first in that.
Tepper, send me a fucking hat. I'm not asking for a lot, man. I have that shitty clear plastic fanny pack from the last game.
I don't even know bring it to the stadium because it's clear.
I keep all my lipstick in there. Like, I don't know what that's for. I have pockets.
So I'm 15th overall in Charlotte now, but I definitely want to be top 5 at the end of the season. I would like to win that. I feel like I should win that.
Yeah.
Overall, for the whole MLS fantasy, I was 139 for the week, which is good. Wish I would have captained Belonga. That would have been woo.
Would have been big.
Overall, I'm finally into the top 1,000 at least at 717. So I'm pretty happy. It was a really good week. I won my head-to-head, 93 of 56. I played Jacob.
Yeah.
He had 9 DNPs. and he still had 56 points because he captained Bouanga.
Oh my god.
Yeah, he captained Bouanga, and he had like 2 big points. I can't remember who, and he could have had a real week if he just looked.
Yeah,
I texted him a picture, circled all the DMPs in the picture. But
that's funny.
Financially, and then you didn't talk about yours, so we gotta go back to.
we'll talk about it.
But I'm up another $4 million. I'm now at 118.6 million. Most of my guys are getting 500,000 each week. I mean, I am building bank, which is really important, especially with how much I like to do keeperoos and switcheroos and things like that. So.
And same over here. I'm at 118.2. I think I went up 4 million from last week, so we're right around the same boat there. With honestly, at 118. We are now in the neighborhood of I can really have whoever I like. Like, budget is no longer a factor.
That's what happened to me in the last.
Because if you get all 4 millions on your bench, you can have whoever you want up there.
But even still, like, towards the end of last year, when I started
too.
having like 130-something million,
Yeah.
and then people went up, but I never had a money issue where I had to decide. I did the keeperoos and the switcheroos I wanted to do, and literally, I mean, it was like Acosta or Cucho, which they're not even the same position, so that doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to think of 2 expensive guys. And literally, whichever one does better, that's who's going to play. Because I can afford them both. Like, it was just ridiculous. And that's where you really want to be. That you can choose whoever you want. So building bank is super important.
It's also a huge advantage as you get later in the season because there are people who have 9 fucking DNPs and they don't look and they're not getting more money. So,
Jacob has 102 million right now.
Right. So then when you start playing against those people, it's a huge advantage. Like, not only do you need to have the money to keep up with the top teams, you start destroying the bottom team.
Yeah.
Moving on, looking at next week. So, I'm not gonna lie to you, next week I am worried about defense. There's not a single team that I like defensively. Every team that's good on defense is playing a good attack team, and that
or they're on the road.
Yeah,
but no, I don't love anything defensively. I have likes.
Yeah,
I have no love.
So I have Maxime Crepeau in the net. Playing Vancouver. They're on the road. I don't know that I love it, but I kind of like Portland in that game, and Vancouver had a good week last week, and I don't think they can keep it up.
I don't ever like Portland again.
I do this one more time. They deserve another chance.
Perennially, they're so inconsistent.
Yeah.
And I've heard other people talk about that, and they just showed it again. On a slam dunk game.
What about Gary? They might turn it all around. We don't know. First game with a new striker involved. There's things to think about for last week. Also, the Union, at the beginning of the season, before I saw Portland or Philly play, I would have said Philly was better.
And then I watched Philly play since.
Right, but maybe Philly has figured it out and not Portland got worse. Maybe it's Philly getting better. And Portland isn't on paper better than Philly, I don't think.
Well, Philly Neville isn't getting better.
No. But Crepeau in the net anyway. Then we've got Miles Robinson, Kip Keller, and Zawadzki across the back line. To be honest, I don't know that Miles Robinson and Kip Keller are going to stay there because they're playing Charlotte and we're going to be at that game. So I kind of don't want to root against a Charlotte goal.
Right.
But those are 2 good picks, I think, for now. Across the midfield, Forsberg's back. I got him in. They're playing Orlando. I think that's going to be another big game. Almada, Puig, Acosta is my captain right now. And then up top, we've got Cucho, Bouanga, and Gigi. Gigi and Almada against Chicago, I think they're going to go off. I think that game's going to be fireworks. That could be a 4-3 game easily. Bouanga, I mean, LAFC's going to Colorado. I think they're going to roll through Colorado, honestly. Especially after seeing Colorado struggle with Houston. LAFC, if they play the way they did last week, is 100 times better than Houston. So,
but that's a big if. It's on the road. It's
true.
Mile high.
Yeah. Well, and we saw LAFC in the snow at Salt Lake this year, and it was pretty disgusting.
And who's to say it doesn't snow in Colorado this week?
We'll see what the weather looks like. But I feel
still be
pretty confident going into that game. Right now, my bench is all $4 million guys. that may change depending on what happens with those two defenders. But honestly, those are really the only changes I'm going to make. My midfield and my strikers, I'm pretty set with. I think that's how I want that. Honestly, that's how I want it almost every week moving
Yeah,
forward.
no, it's a lot of guys that, and I can tell you, your midfield, 3 or 4 midfielders match mine.
Yeah.
2 of your 3 forwards match mine.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think a lot of these guys are just the guys you play every week. And then there's a few that switch off depending on the matchup. But I think it's really a handful of guys that are you just got to play every week.
For sure. And then what do you got for next week?
So, you know, I always start with teams first.
Yeah.
And then I go to players. So I like Atlanta, just like you. Ahmad and Gigi are back at home against Chicago, allowing 2 goals against per game. And Atlanta's scoring 3 goals per game at home.
Wow.
So I like that. I like Cincinnati. They're on the road. Normally I don't like that. But they're in Charlotte, who got super lucky last week.
Yeah, they did.
Camacho out early. Ramirez out. Red card.
Yeah.
Goal disallowed. There were so many reasons they got lucky, and they're not going to get lucky again against 2 of the best teams in the league back to back. So I like Cincinnati.
Well, and honestly, if you told Charlotte before these 2 games that they're going to play Columbus and Cincinnati and they're going to get through it with 3 points, they would be like, all right.
Yeah.
I mean,
They would have taken 1 point.
Yeah. No, that's huge. 3
So
points.
they've already got 3. Cincinnati, they've been really good defensively. And I think that they're still not breaking out. I don't know if they scored more than a goal in a game, but it's got to happen. They're just too good for it.
Yeah.
I talked a lot last week, which again didn't get aired, but about trends versus regression to the mean.
I know there's definitely one game where they had more than 1 goal because I remember a game where Acosta came in at halftime and had a goal and an assist.
Did he?
But it was 0 goals before Acosta got in the field.
Oh, yeah.
He's the entire offense.
I know what you're talking about. That was 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
But I do think they're going to start scoring more. And what a perfect week against Charlotte.
Yeah.
You know, Charlotte's defense statistically looks great. They got all these shutouts.
Yeah.
But it's fraudulent. That's not who they are. And I watched Privet and Melanda make so many bonehead mistakes live. I watched it live. I watched it on TV when they're in Toronto.
Yeah.
I mean, so it's regression to the mean, and I'm telling you, I would be very shocked if Cincinnati didn't have at least 2 or 3 goals this week. And if they do, Acosta's going to be involved in all of them.
Yeah.
The Columbus, also on the road, but they're coming off an anomaly of a game against Charlotte, like I said. So, you know, I think they're going to get back to who they are. Plus, Joe Willis on a red, so he's out for Nashville.
That's big.
Zimmerman's still out, and another defender just got hurt.
By the way,
so,
we didn't talk about that when we talked about LAFC. How dumb was that Joe Willis?
That was terrible.
You know how big the box is. Like, you're a professional goalie. Don't leave the box. That's not hard.
And they're already down 2-0 at the time.
Yeah, it wasn't a reason.
What's another goal?
It was crazy to get out there that quickly and not time to the edge of the box.
But I didn't like Nashville before that other defender got hurt, and Joe Willis is out.
Yeah.
I mean, it's even more reason to like Columbus. Houston, San Jose's let up at least 2 goals in all 5 games this season.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and Houston pitched a shutout in half of their games. So there's things to like about Houston. Miami, I like their attacking players. I mean, they have been an offensive juggernaut, really.
Yeah.
Averaging over 2 goals per game in the 5 games so far, before that horrible game. So that was their worst game of the season. They're not going to play worse than that. So now they're coming home after their worst game of the season, and even without Messi, they're still going to have a comeback game to a degree. So I like their attacking players. So I like Toronto defense. I'm a little worried that they're due for a letdown. They have 4 clean sheets in 5 games, and they're not going to keep that pace.
Yeah.
Plus, Insigne now hurt. I feel like, and we don't know that he's out this next game yet.
Yeah,
but it looked like it.
The injury is.
He looked really
uncomfortable and
angry that he was hurt. So it made you feel like he knows it's going to be out for some period of time. But I feel like you pull him off the field, it changes everything on that team. Even though he's not a defender, it's how much time that they don't have the ball up top that it could be in their own end. So, But I am going to start Rosted on the bench. He plays at 7:30, and so if he does well, then I'll keep a $4 million DNP in the game. If he doesn't, then I'll look for someone at a later game. And he's so cheap, 5.1 million. So I think it's worth taking a chance on Toronto defense in that respect.
For sure.
LA Galaxy, I mean, I love all their attacking players. They're unbelievable. They average almost 2.5 goals a game, and they're just good. I mean, that whole team, it's so good. So for keepers, I'm looking at Steve Clark on the bench, and then a $4 million keeper on a bye. And then we'll see if we need a keeper or anything. He doesn't play till 8,
right,
or 8:30. So I'll be looking at the 10:30 slot or like Guzan or something, who I don't love.
Yeah.
But I just don't love keepers this week.
No, really no one I like.
All the guys that I like are playing at 7:30, and I don't want to spend $14.5 million on 2 goalies when none of them's going to get a clean sheet.
Right.
I just rather spend it elsewhere. Even with the clean sheet, they might only give me 7 points. Is that really worth all that money?
Exactly.
Other keepers I was looking at: Celentano, Schulte, Callender, and maybe Lurie. He's the one playing at 4, where I could have done the keeper with Clark, but I'm just not going to spend the money. Yeah. I'd rather just put it elsewhere, and if I get 2 or 3 points instead of 7, whatever. Defenders, like I said, I'm starting with Rosted on the bench. I like Dos Santos on Houston. In addition to potential clean sheet, he gets bonus points on clearance and passes.
Yes.
So Zawadzki on Columbus, again, potential clean sheet against Nashville. He gets bonuses on passes, key passes, and clearances. So trying to look for those guys that might have a clean sheet, does get points elsewhere, so they might get me 4 or 5 even without it, and maybe I get an 8, 9, or 10 with it. Brooks Lennon, and that's mostly for his offensive play.
Yeah.
But they could get a clean sheet, but mostly for his offensive play. My other guy's a $4 million DNP right now. So Miazga and Keller, Cincinnati, they're guys I'm always considering. Gressel and Alba I'm considering, but they're almost definitely going to have a salary decrease this week. Alba's carrying a 1 and 2 and dropping an 8 in his 3-week average. And then Gressel's carrying a 0 and a 3. And they're both on a price slide right now. Alba lost $200,000 last week. Gressel lost $400,000. So I'm a little worried about the two of them. If they don't really come out with big scores, they're going to lose me money.
Yeah.
So mids, I like Lucho every week.
Yeah.
I mean,
he's great.
He's part of goal day. Every goal they've ever had. I mean,
yep.
And then they're playing Charlotte, which I talked about why I like that. And I talked about Columbus. Charlotte's just not getting a clean sheet this week. So I like Lucho. Almada, I love Almada, same reasons as you. Coming back from international break when his team lost, coming home against Chicago, less than 2 goals a game on the season.
Yeah.
Beautiful. I like Puig. Love the Galaxy. He's their point guard.
Yeah. And I hate Seattle. Yeah. I have said it over and over and over.
And I keep defending that.
And I keep being proven right every week.
I know.
They can't win a game.
De La Vega not back yet.
All right. We'll see.
And I don't even... Did Yamar actually start this last game?
I don't know. But this is not the week for Seattle to prove me wrong. It's just not.
No, it's not. So I'm thinking about playing a 4-3-3, starting 2 mids on the bench. I don't love mids with the new scoring, and they're the most expensive players. So they're the most expensive players, and they're not getting you the points in the new scoring system. Spend your money on your forwards. Yeah.
Though I will say the counterpoint to that, which I don't honestly know which side I'm on yet with this, but forwards, I can usually pick 3 guys that are gonna score. Mids, it's kind of nice to go, well, I have 4, and 3 of these 4 are gonna do something. I don't know which one.
Well, then that's when you do a switcheroo.
You can almost count on one of them maybe letting you down, and it'll be okay.
Well, I got Gazdag and Redondo on the bench right now.
True.
And they're playing earlier than Puig and Almada. So if they have any success, I could switch, or I could switch with a defender, or I could switch with a forward. So I do have options. And that's why I'm starting on the bench. I don't have all the confidence in the world in them. But Gazdag's only 8.6, which for him is nothing. No, and then Redondo, So he hasn't gotten any fantasy points, but the statistics are there. So I think that means he wasn't in the game yet, like in the fantasy game yet.
Right.
But he still did play in those games, and he got points on a whole bunch of different statistics.
Yeah, no.
So if he plays, I kind of like him.
Right.
But I don't know if he will or not. You never know with Miami players. They all rotate.
It's just such a deep squad.
Yeah. Forwards, Gigi, same reason Almada, and he just scores goals. He's probably my captain.
Mm-hmm.
That's where the points are coming. If you look at all the dream teams and all the top point getters in fantasy the whole season, last week was the first time it wasn't a forward.
Wow.
It was Lewis Morgan, who, by the way, lined up as a forward.
Yeah.
He just wasn't a forward in the game. So
we'll see. I don't know that those will ever get updated because Yedlin is an out-and-out midfielder for Cincinnati.
Yeah.
He's listed as
No, I think however they start the season is how it's
Dressel lined up as a wing. He's listed as a defender. Those mismatches are good for you.
Yeah, no, you need to take advantage of those. But your forwards are always your top point getters. Sometimes the top 2 point getters were both forwards in a given week.
Yeah.
That's where your captain has to be. And so mine's Gigi. I also got Cucho up there, and I debated him. I would have rather seen him at home, but he scores every week, and the week that he doesn't, and I don't just mean goals, I mean fantasy points.
Yeah.
The week that he doesn't, the following week you've got to play him and think he's going to come back.
Yeah.
And then I have Ibrahim Alayu from Houston.
Mm-hmm.
He's scoring goals and has an assist, and he's getting points in other areas. So he's got quite a few key passes. So he's someone I like at only 6.9 million. Also thinking about Benteke. He should have had 2 goals last game. He had that awesome header, and Berkey had that amazing save. Yeah. So I think Benteke is one of those guys that's always in that forward rotation. So that's my team this week. There'll probably be a little bit of tinkering, but I don't think I'm going to go far off that because I either love the guys or there's no one I love at that position.
Right.
So
now let's talk about betting. Last week, another good betting week. 5 games. So I had Columbus Crew plus 145. That one lost to Charlotte, which honestly I was happy to pay $20 to see the Charlotte win. That was worth it to me. Toronto did win plus 120, so it's $20 to win 24. Timbers lost 20 there. Cincinnati with a win, that was my only negative payout. So that one I picked up $19 profit on the bet. And then the Galaxy was plus 250. So that comeback was the difference between me being down $20 or me being up $50. And they got the comeback. So I'm right now is plus 53.05, which puts me at plus 104 something for the season. I don't know the exact change there, but I've made about $100 in the last 2 weeks. My investment account, I currently have $997 invested for a value of $1,019, so I've made $21 this week. 5 more games that I'm looking at, $20 a piece. I'm not going to break that formula because honestly, I've gone 3-2 each week, and both weeks I made money. So it seems like 5 games is diversified enough that you still end up...
Just like your portfolio.
Right. Actually, my portfolio is anything but diversified. It is all in one fund, essentially, which is the worst thing you could do. But this week's betting, so I got Minnesota United in Philly. Philly, I did not expect to win last week, and I think Minnesota is a better team than Portland. You do have Gazdag coming back, which scares me a little, but honestly, at plus 300, I'm willing to risk that. Then we've got the Timbers in Vancouver. I think the Timbers need to come back after last week. It's the second game with Rodriguez in now, and he scored last week, so he's in good form. They are plus 290. Then we start getting a little bit more predictable. Red Bulls at Orlando City, plus 188. I mean, the Red Bulls wiped the floor with Miami, and Miami wiped the floor with Orlando. So, if they...
Was that the transitive property?
Yeah, I was about to start that. It's unfortunately
That doesn't always work in sports. But
no,
okay.
but I believe it, and
I like Red Bull much better than Orlando.
Yeah,
Orlando's a big disappointment. this year.
And don't forget, Lewis Morgan was back last week from injury. Now, Forsberg gets added too.
Tolkien,
Yeah,
Isla,
you have a lot of guys
Coronel,
coming in
all
that
coming back.
weren't here last week, so
Yeah,
they're
a lot
going to
of guys
be
coming
even
back.
better than what you saw. Then I got Miami at home playing NYCFC. Minus 135. I just think they need a comeback game. I don't.
And that's the team to do it against.
Yeah, I mean NYC is pretty disappointing. I think that should be a blowout, honestly, if Miami does their job. And then I got LA going to Colorado plus 120. I don't see a way that LAFC loses that game other than snow or something like that we talked about.
Sometimes on the road, they just have a problem finding the net.
Yeah, and we'll see. Here's what I'm hoping.
I could see that being a 0-0 draw, or even a 1-1 draw, to be honest, with like a Cole Bassett goal or something like that.
Yeah, I am thinking Bouanga had those 4 games with no goals.
Now he's starting that.
Yeah, and now he's...
I could totally see that. I wouldn't be surprised if LA went out 1-3.
And now that he's going to Colorado, that's a team that you can score goals on. Like, I think the floodgates will open against shitty teams.
Yeah, I do think Colorado has a future, though.
Oh, certainly. I don't think it's...
So many good young players. I mean, Ronan's still out for a while. When he comes back, they'll be a different team.
Well, and when Ronan gets back, the Rapids are reevaluated in all my betting.
And then I might play him or Bassett at home, actually.
Yeah.
In certain...
No, especially if they're playing a San Jose or someone that gives up a lot of goals.
Or New York City.
Yeah. So a team like that, I like Bassett or Ronan.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's our show for this week. John, anything you want to tell the people before we get out?
Check your lineups.